Yeah, welcome everybody to our e-commerce and shop retail session. It's gonna be exciting as each and every one of you is shopping every day for clothes, for food, for consumer electronics, for stuff like that. Digitalization is in full swing and has already changed all aspects of our life. Who has a smartphone with him or her right now at the moment? Well, who has not? So the smartphone has become our constant companion and is giving us access to shopping anywhere and anytime. So my thesis for today's panel is that online and offline e-commerce, online and offline retail, so e-commerce and shop retail, the two worlds have already become inseparable. Julia, Billa has been the retailer which had one of the first web shops, e-commerce shops, in 1999. There is only one being older, it's our dinosaur here.
The shop.
The shop, yeah,
not me.
not the person. In 1990, OTTO. But Julia, Billa has therefore been a pioneer in digital commerce. Have you already found the perfect mix between online and offline retail?
Well, first of all, hello from me as well. It's really great to be here. Well, what is the perfect mix of online and offline? I think you'd need to ask the customer, because for some customers it's all about the actual retail store, and we definitely love the customer to be in our retail store. And for some customer it's all about the online experience, and that's why we have our online shop. But it's not just about the commerce, but it's also how can we make sure that the online provides the gateway to whatever information we want to provide, whatever information the customer wants to have, and wherever he or she wants to buy. So there is no such thing as a perfect combination of online and offline. I suppose as a retailer, the most important thing is to understand what the customer needs and which customer wants what.
I like that very much, putting the shopper, the customer first. A question to Paddy, who has just arrived courageously from the airport. Paddy, GS1 Germany is currently working on a future scenario of how we are going to shop in the future in 2025, something like this. And we have found out together with retailers and manufacturers, startups and scientists that shoppers have already developed some kind of no mercy attitude. They want their stuff anywhere, anytime, immediately, conveniently, and for a small price. How do you see that, and how does that impact your business?
Hi. So, yeah, they're good categories. I can talk about from my own experience and from our business. Anywhere is definitely a big issue for us at the moment, and as an online marketplace, we are opening our doors and we're making it a very open platform. In the last year and a half, we've done a lot of work to federate other people's content onto our site, other people's inventory onto our site. What we're trying to do is make Groupon a daily habit. And to do that, we want to make sure that we have sufficient supply on there. So we have built a bunch of APIs so that other online retailers can make their content available on our site. Similarly, we're federating our content onto other people's sites as well by providing it via buttons. The convenient thing is a big challenge for us. So I don't think anybody wants anymore to go into if they're on a date or something like that and pull out a paper Groupon or show a code on a phone. So we've done a lot of work in the last year with credit card companies, and we've rolled out a lot of card-linked offers. And I was in Chicago last month, arrived late, went across the road from my hotel, and instantly got cash back. I didn't even know that this was a Groupon customer, but instantly got cash back. So the convenience thing is hugely important, and we want to make it frictionless, we want to make it seamless. For the right price, I think, is the other thing. That's a significant challenge for local commerce. People want to support local business, but they also want to make sure that they're getting the price that they've become accustomed to online. A lot of that is about us providing our merchants the right levels of tools so they can understand their business better. They can understand when their busy periods are, or what types of customers come at different types of times, and give small businesses the kind of access to the tools that we have available and the data that we have available at the scale that we're at. Were there other? What was the other word?
Already quite good, because you stress that like local shops are still important for people. I mean, nobody shops 100% online. So Peter, do you think that the distinction between e-commerce, web shops, shopping online, and local stores, offline shopping is still valid, or that we should actually rethink this channel thinking?
I think there are two perspectives to the question. From the one hand side, we have the customer, and actually what we learned in the past 5 years is that we can't predict customer behavior. So we better be well prepared for customers who are very distinct on which channel they use. And we should be prepared that context and relevance is very different from customer to customer and from consumer good to consumer good. The problem I see with this distinction between different channels is that we as retailers, especially in Europe, fail very badly to rely on this idea of channels. And there's a wording that retail is detail, and you can see it in lots of our processes, in the procurement processes, the supply chain processes, and the B2C and the B2B processes, that they are fixed and optimized for efficiency. And what we learn in IT is if you strive for efficiency, you lose flexibility. So in e-commerce, we see MVPs, product discoveries, design thinking, and we didn't feel the urge to transport these ideas to what we do in retail and stationary businesses. So it's the problem of the customer not being excusing any non-functional requirements that he demands on a channel, and that's where IT needs to jump in and catch up very fast.
Perfect, thank you, because this leads me to my question for Andreas, who has been with SPAR for his entire life, basically. I'm allowed to say from 1982 on until today, so many, many years and decades. And Peter just said that IT might bridge the gap between the online and offline world. How do you see that in your function as head of IT?
Hi everybody. I think, as I said it before, I think it's the most sexiest job you can have now in the IT by working in a retail environment, because if you talk about digital in retail, so all the areas, customers and also the back office business is totally affected on that. So I never had in my very long career in the IT this, let me say, high experience and this really huge drivers from the business to IT. And also I think it's a great time to develop an IT organization and IT people to really business focused and strategic thinking people who are supporting the business lines to move into this digital world. Talking about some let me say ideas around, I had a very nice conversation with a colleague, or obviously with a friend some weeks ago. He said, Andreas, a paper leaflet is really wasting my private time, because looking at the paper leaflet, I will have to do it at home, and this is killing my private time, which I can really use with my family. If a retailer wants to give me information about new products, about promotions and whatever, I want to have it mobile. I want to use it and to look at it when it's boring, for example, waiting for the bus or being on the toilet. And this, from my point of view, is this movement from the customer now in this digital world, not only with the very young generation, also people like in my age, and I'm very old from that perspective, they are really thinking about how to make life convenient, and I think also moving in this retail experience more stronger with digital, let me say, support. And we talked about online and offline. Now I think I see a big movement that if you talk about digital and digital customer experience, we are now moving from the online shopping experience really in the store experience. And here we are now, let me say, very strong on track to find combinations, how to attract the offline shopping with digital, let me say, marketing stuff and digital experience. So really think about how the shopping experience today for people who want to have it very easy and very fast, don't waste their private time by doing shopping with, I think, day-to-day products really helps them to make it much more fast and much more easier with technology. I see really a big movement now for new technology being used for offline shop experience. And this is, I think, very great. And here, I think a retail IT department can be very strategic, supporting these new strategies for business areas, bringing out this customer experience.
That's interesting what you're saying, because there is always this apparently contradiction between online e-commerce, online retailing, and offline retailing. And you could actually use digital or new technologies in the offline commerce. Julia, how do you do that at Billa? How do you make offline shopping in the shop retail a true shopping experience with the help of new technologies for your shoppers?
Well, I think, as I said before, it's all about understanding what does the customer really want. Some customer want to just come in and say, well, I don't have much time, I just want to go in, get what I need, and get out. And then the other point is where the point of sale actually transforms into a point of experience, and just actually, I do want to indulge, because I love cooking, so I love going into the retail store and just indulge and see what is there, how can I get inspired, but not on a Saturday morning. I enjoy rather Saturday morning having my breakfast at home and have it delivered. So for us at Billa, it's definitely, first of all, about understanding what is it the user needs, or our customer, to then see which technology we'll be using. How can we have a more enriched experience in the shop by providing different platforms? For example, of course, mobile first is our very much, you just mentioned, you don't want to have a paper coupon. We have digitalized that for years now and see a very great traction with our customers where they say, no, I do want to have everything in my app. It sounds simple, but actually it's about sometimes the simple things that will help our customers to have a really good experience. Nevertheless, that's the one thing that the customer experience with us, but it shouldn't feel like it's a lot of effort. We're trying a lot of things in-house with our digital department where we can say, okay, what do we do with all this new technology? But for the customer, it shouldn't feel like technology. For us, it's about putting actually the human being in the center again, and then not realizing, and actually it being intuitive more, and how do we combine? So the question for me is more, what does commerce mean, and what does contextual commerce almost mean as well? And how does all of the technology helps to support that?
I'd like to tell a little story. Yesterday, I was walking home from work, and I popped into fashion retailer's store to get one of those football world championship coming up now in June shirts for my little son. And of course, they didn't have it in the size I needed. And the nice lady told me, but we have tablets now, I can order it for you. And I was like, well, nice, yeah, let's do this. And she went getting this tablet with me through the whole store, starting to type in and trying to search herself through the web shop of this fashion retailer. And finally, we found the football shirt, and we couldn't order it because, first of all, she had to type in all my address details, all the paying information. And this was the point when I said, stop, come on. I just walked out the store, got on my Amazon Prime account, and ordered it within like 30 seconds online. Peter, can you tell me anything about that? Like, how can you, as a pure IT guy, help enable your people to adapt technologies much more to the real value added of shoppers?
Well, first of all, the story is sad in itself because you should have bought the shirt at OTTO, because we have them available, actually.
I didn't know you yet.
You should. Actually, I think that your story is an example of how functional requirements differ between various channels on the IT side, but not on the customer side. actually customers are not willing to accept irrelevance, and they are not accepting in performance in supply chain processes. So IT needs to give up any idea of having a multi-channel approach and having an optimization approach, and a supply chain reach should strive into a decentralized network of logistics that include the retail stores just as well as the centralized logistical infrastructure for grand e-commerce platforms in order to avoid this happening. If you go into a retail store, you want to have the same availability of goods that you have online, and that needs to be achieved, even though it's painful and very expensive.
That's what we call one reality for the shopper. Shoppers don't think in channels. They just have one shopping reality. And in omni-channeling, Paddy, I would like to know, and this brings me to the topic of platforms and marketplaces. How do you think that marketplaces like Groupon will drive retail in the future?
So, I mean, marketplaces have been around now for more than a decade, and they're very successful, and they're very well embedded in terms of the consumer experience. There's one place, and there's this mammoth opportunity, which is, we feel very strongly about local commerce. And I don't think by any means we've cracked it yet, and I think there are plenty of others who've tried to crack it. But it's a colossal opportunity, because there are millions of businesses out there and there are millions of connected consumers, and consumers are sophisticated. And as I said before, they do want to support local business. Everybody likes the idea of a vibrant community. Everybody wants this idea of discovery, where I can find out there is a baseball game on this weekend, or there's a football game, or there's a new zipline park, or there's a new restaurant open. So that strong sense of discovery is people with connected consumers, they're mobile first, they want to find out what's going on, and they want to find out new things to do, things to do with the kids. So I think that's the opportunity for marketplaces, and that's certainly the opportunity we're going after. It feels huge. I think everything else is super, super competitive, and that's a real space that I feel we can compete in. There's obviously one of the big social networks is going after that space as well. And I think the value prop that we have is that we can provide the scale and the sophistication of a large computational marketing network to a small mom and pop type retailer, and allow them to do more sophisticated targeting. Obviously, we have to be conscious of GDPR, and like any other business, we spent a long time looking at that in the last year. But joining the sophistication and the scale of a company like ourselves with a small mom and pop type operation really helps them target customers, identify opportunities, and bring people in the door, and then build sustainable relationships with those customers.
Peter, we have seen marketplaces, a lot of them, and the marketplaces are being followed now by what we call smart, eco-driven platform models like Amazon or Alibaba. At least in Germany, I don't know how it is in Austria, you will only find a very few retailers, I don't even need all fingers of my hand, who are investing in platform models, shifting away from this traditional linear value chain to a real platform with interactions with many other players. Why is OTTO doing this, and what do you hope to achieve with it?
First of all, it's a big adventure and a big fun from an IT perspective to be part of that. It's a big adventure and a big bet we are making because we are breaking with our traditional business model entirely. We believe that all we did up to now was based on gross margin optimization processes, and all the services we amend to this process were designed to aid this one KPI. And actually, we are very sure that this business models will die, especially if you're not in a vertical optimized environment, and that we believe that we will lead into an attention economy, that relevance and attraction and customer time is the new money that we are striving for. So what we want to do now is we want to join our expertise in retail and add that to a platform of partners that we can join forces in a network with different suppliers, different retails, and add universal services to that to add on to the true and only retail business, and that we skip earning money, earning revenue from gross margin, but using our reach and our customer spread and monetize that.
Andreas, in the speakers lounge before we came up here to the panel, you told me that like he's been in IT for decades and how much things changed. Would you say that IT is the most important department in the digital age for each and every company?
For sure, of course. No, I think this is my opinion. I think our management and our business areas are far away from that idea. But if I look back the last 3-4 years, I think there was a big change in our retail company, and of course also in the IT department. I think over the last 5 years, the budget for IT is now 100% higher than 5 years ago, because we are investing so strongly in these new digital areas. I think we were in the right time when we developed some strategies to explain our business that we have to invest in that. But I think this new model or this change was not really on technology. It was very strongly on mindset and on culture. And I want come back to your experience at shopping. So we are also doing sports and fashion. And I think the situation I can really expect in our stores. And why is this the situation? Because the traditional retailers is thinking in traditional processes. And the traditional retailer is very strongly thinking this inside-out perspective. And because the traditional retailer needs maybe your address, you have to insert it. And I think now we see that the customer experience is totally different. It must be very easy, and we have to change this let me say, perspective by developing our system, our user interfaces more from this outside-in view. This is really a strong change in the priorities, and I think we are not able to bring this perspective in all our people. That's why we are really now thinking about moving people who are able to think in that direction into new teams and new departments to establish this experience for the customer, which from my point of view is so important. In the past, nobody really took care on that, how the stuff is coming to the customer. Imagine what is the really shitty situation in a retail store. It's the cash out. So the last stage in shopping is really very bad, because you have to wait, you have to bring all the articles again on the cash register, you have to wait for the payment, and so on and so on. Because nobody thought about that this is also part of the user experience. And now we are, I think, changing this culture, bringing in this new thinking how to bring this experience. And this means, I think, a big change in IT organization, also to enable IT organization and IT people to act as a kind of advisor for the business, because I think IT people are these people who are thinking about this digital customer experience, and they are really now able to support the business people to get the right view, the right perspective, and at the end the right solution to really avoid situations like you had it in the store. And that's why I think I'm very pushing that, because it's really the biggest change for IT organization to move into this strategic position. So I think most of you are too young to know about that, but over the last 2 decades, IT is supporting the business. People told me there is structure follows strategy. So IT mustn't think about strategy. This is coming from the business. You only have to do what the business is asking. Now this is totally changing. So if the company allows that, and I'm very happy to work in a company who allows that, I think IT is more driving the strategy, because the IT people are able to think in these new dimensions of digital business and digital customer experience. And as I said, this is a big change, but also, I think, very challenging the organization and the people, really, and also, of course, the management. But I really try to do it and to push that. We are very cool on track from my point of view. We did some huge changes in the organization, so also how to lead the people, how the people are working together, how the people can benefit from our development and so on. And I think we at SPAR, I think we are on a very good track now to support that. But we also see that because we are working a little bit international, so we are also operating country around Austria. We see that in the eastern countries, let me say, also the customer is much more faster to accept this digital stuff. So in Austria, I think we are a little bit behind that, but people in other countries are much more faster to move in these new, so let me say, business opportunities and in these new technologies. And I think here a lot of speed is necessary to follow that.
Can I just add as well? Yeah. I think it's an interesting point, because something that we have seen, of course, as well, coming from grocery, and I myself have experience in different other industries, and I find it always interesting when you say there is an IT department and then there is business. I mean, me being responsible for e-commerce, being responsible for how do you transform a retailer digitally, business equals IT, or IT equals actually business. I think this to distinguish is something, exactly to your point, that can't happen anymore. There has to be more business acumen, people developing solutions. Again, the customer and whoever has to use the solution has to have an end-to-end experience. And I think this is very interesting and something we've developed as well within REWE, within Billa, the last years, the last 3 years at least since I'm there, and I've experienced that, where it's really about together creating something that the customer will actually experience, and then see who puts the business aspect to it and who actually has the actual solution to create this solution for the customer.
Well, thank you, Julia. Does that mean that you just said there must be an end-to-end customer experience? Does that mean that e-commerce is dead? Because e-commerce is just one tiny process within the entire shopping process.
Well, I think you have to look at it as a puzzle piece. So I think at the beginning you have to start somewhere, and e-commerce is something that you try. It costs loads of money to try, especially in a business where you are trying to really put in new processes, new platforms in a very structure which has been made for years to support a retail business and ecosystem. But what you do is learn. You learn a lot, because all of a sudden you have to look at accounting processes, procurement processes, the information provided about a product. So there is a procurement manager who buys in, for example, a drink, and they have to put in details. So for the retail, it's enough to have 2-3 attributes, but all of a sudden I'm pulling this information, and the transparency that a digital platform provides is scary to a certain extent, because now I don't need 3 attributes, I need about 32 of them, and they all have to be correct because I'm pulling them automatically. So I think e-commerce is a very important trigger for the whole understanding of digitalization, and it also shows how digital has to happen in every single department. So you have to think of it throughout the whole value chain of it to the customer, the end-to-end experience, but also internally, the whole value chain to the back end. So from when the customer sees it, the whole value chain all the way to the last mile, and how does the product actually get to the customer, in which way, and try to understand logistic concept behind it. So what's really interesting about e-commerce, in the past it was put a shop up, somehow a platform or whatever, and have a product there and sell it, and somehow it will get to the customer. Today it's not like that. So it's about commerce. And you mentioned the word omni-channel. There are all these trendy words: omni-channel, multi-channel, all the channels. At the end of the day, as you said, it is about providing just all of these touch points to the customer, and some will choose to use it online and some offline.
Yeah, you mentioned that it is basically a holistic thing, and I think for holistic processes you need teams that work beyond departments, like IT departments, supply chain departments, stuff like that. So it is a cultural shift, just as Andreas has said. Peter, your CEO introduced the do at the beginning of the year to company-wide. Who is from Austria or Germany in the audience? Who is not? Well, to those of you who are not, in the German language world, there exists a strange thing. We have a different way of like talking to a person we don't know and to a person we know. There is no such thing as a you in English, and you can say you to me and to everybody. The talking on a first name basis is not regular in Germany. So the CEO of the OTTO group introduced the speaking with each other on a first name basis, which is basically a strong symbol, at least to me, that he says like, tear down all the boundaries between different departments, hierarchies and stuff like that. What does that has to do with the competitiveness of a retailer in the digital transformation?
Actually, it sounds simple, but it is a big thing. OTTO is from Hamburg, it's family owned, it's an old and traditional company, and if you say Sie to your manager, it's a form of giving respect to a hierarchy and to a decision-making board. And we invested heavily in the last years in having interoperable teams, in co-working, in continuous delivery, extreme programming, and joining forces in DevOps, and we figured we are still slow. And it was a very memorable board decision that we asked what the precise strategy in e-commerce for OTTO should be in the next 5 years. And we had a very well-pledged discussion and decided that we don't know what the e-commerce strategy is. So OTTO knows why we want to achieve something, and we have an operational excellence. We know how to do it, but the definition of what needs to be done is open, and this what can only be answered by a learning organization, and learning organizations are built on trust, on exchange, on collaboration, and not on showing respect to somebody taking the final decision. So I think that was a very bold move in breaking with tradition and with committing that the management, that people like me simply don't know what needs to be done, and so we have to go and learn and study and fail and mess up really badly and spend loads of money on mistakes and problems until we find a solution on how we can persuade the customer to procure and shop with us.
Very smart approach. Would you like to comment on that, Paddy?
Yeah, I think that sounds really great. I heard something the other day which resonated with me, which is that if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Looking at you, are we already with the questions? Yes, we are. Okay, 10 minutes left. Sorry, it's audience time. I see a lot of interesting questions. Let's see. Maximizing revenue is one of the top priorities for all of you sitting here. Does having self-service terminals in your retail stores actually increase revenues? Well, let me tell you, that's, at least in Germany, where we don't have a lot of self-service terminals, one of the major questions. Julia, would you like to ask? You're the bridge between Austria and Germany, right?
Well, I think it always depends. Just having a terminal does not increase revenue. I think what it is, again, what's on the terminal, what's the experience. If you have an iPad and it takes you 10 minutes to actually order a t-shirt, you might give up. So yes, we do have use cases where we have seen, and we do have some terminals and shops where people can order, especially because Biller is a smaller format, and you can order on top articles that are not actually in the shop available. So yes, we have seen through our click and collect services, for example, it does help revenue. But you have to understand, again, what is the user experience in this case. I wouldn't say it maximizes revenue yet, and that's something to your point. It's about trying and seeing what you actually put in which service on these terminals.
Yeah, and it might maximize your positive shopping experience because, I mean, the checkout process is, at least to me, always annoying, and any technology or anything that can make it easier is good. The next question, integration of different information systems. Andreas, it sounds like a question for you.
Thank you so much for
How do you manage with that challenge? Very global question, but Andreas can make it, right?
Yeah, I think if I look back 2 or 3 years, I think we invested a lot in really do this really deep integration from traditional ERP system into this new e-commerce stuff and so on. Today I can say this was not the right strategy. I think today I would say we have really strongly disconnect all the new environment from the old stuff because it's blocking everything. So we are really fighting a lot with speed, with complexity, and of course also with stability. So if I had really a talk with the REWE CIO some weeks ago and also with OTTO. I asked 2 guys, do you also have a lot of problems during operation you're online? And both of them said, only with the back-end systems, with this traditional stuff, not with the new systems which are designed with, you know, this micro-architecture really to cover this new requirements from the technology and from the platforms. So I think today I would really strongly disconnect from all this traditional, let me say, legacy, and invest a lot in new microservices and cloud solutions, following, let me say, the companies who never had a legacy technology like Google and Amazon. And you can really see the difference that they are not blocked by this legacy stuff. So that's why they are so fast, they are so agile. So I think this is the point.
I think that's one of the key learnings that every board member of IT organization needs to take. It's a 1-0 decision. Either you strive for efficiency, synergies, cost savings, or you strive for speed and adaptability. And you just can go one or the other way. If you integrate, that sounds very dangerous, and I totally agree. It sounds like synergies, it sounds like dependencies, and it sounds like process efficiency over a multi-step technical process. What we try to do is we try to replicate, we try to loosely couple, we try to double data, we try to replicate data, but not to bring in integration in any way whatsoever in order to keep up the speed of software development and change to the business model.
Yeah, and you have to manage this inside the company, but with all your stakeholders too, APIs.
Let me add something
has this question gone?
Yeah, I know, but let me add something because also I talked a lot about changing the strategy in the architecture, but what we are doing now is really changing the strategy by which people we are talking, because some guys from SPAR are in the audience. I strongly trust the new generation of software development who are really focusing on this technology. I think it's also very important to talk with the right people who are in this future architecture, in this future technology. So this is, I think, a strongly point in our culture now, and to really trust these people, going with them in this new world, and shift also people who are thinking and able to deal with this new technology in leading positions to create the future. I think this is also very, very, very important, because with the old people.
Old people, okay. Paddy, I like the question, what are from your point of view the biggest pains of today's shoppers? And I certainly take the Amazon Go question, I love it. But first things first, the shopper.
I think trust is a big pain point, and knowing that you have a trusted source. And I think that probably trust and fulfillment, and I think that's where Amazon probably are winning. Is nobody can beat them on fulfillment, and they're moving into the drone delivery and same day delivery, and certainly in North America the same day delivery stuff is pretty remarkable. So,
but trust in service or trust in like accuracy of data or stuff like that?
I think the trust comes down to, you can certainly find something cheaper somewhere else, but do I know that if these guys screw it up, they're going to look after me? And I think you need to build that trust that, you know, I think most people are reasonably forgiving of error. What they're not forgiving of is that error not being rectified. So I think that to me is the biggest pain point, and that's when, you know, you talked about the initial proliferation of everybody having their own, you know, own e-commerce platform. But if you can't actually get the thing into somebody's hands in an efficient way and then deal with things as they go wrong, so I think that trust thing is a big challenge. And then I think the other one is the discovery and targeting thing. So you know, I don't want to go on to Amazon and say, hey, you bought a keyboard, here's 3 more, would you like another one? It's like, no, I bought one, I'm good. So making sure that customers are being, you know, that to a certain extent in 2018, customer targeting is an evil word, but, you know, at the same time, we do want to go and see things that are relevant for us. So making sure that things are relevant and that and trust, and then that things are going to get fulfilled in a reliable way. So I would say they're the big points.
Julia, the next question is for you. It's about Amazon Go. Sorry, I see that it only has 9 likes and the other 10, but it's a topic which, at least in Germany, is like, no way, people will never accept something and technically it will never work. So retailers lay back and relax. What do you think about Amazon Go? And like walking out of a retail shop without having the hassle of queuing, putting all your stuff on the thing and, you know, all that.
Well, you just answered your question.
Okay.
And I think to the point, and it works in this question as well, what is the biggest pain is for me also the flexibility. Is the retailer flexible enough to service me in the moment how I need it? Sometimes I have time, sometimes I don't. I think for me, the learnings I pull out of Amazon Go is what is the biggest pain I have? You just said at the cash out process, which is just cumbersome. Unless I want it, because some people do enjoy actually putting things on, elderly people. We shouldn't forget this, of course, of the target group. But it's about what Amazon Go does or provides is the possibility to put a human back in, and the people working in the retail shop to actually provide advice, provide consultation, provide service. So if I have a question, I have an expert in cheese that can tell me exactly which cheese I need to buy. I don't need this person to sit at the cashier desk. So I think this is what we, again, from a customer experience, whichever technology is used, and I think this is the beauty about technology, it changes. So it starts somewhere, it's very clunky, it's got all the stuff, it doesn't work, but there is just one thing it works brilliantly on, and that's what we build on to actually then understand how can we utilize it, and once again, to service our customer and provide to, or kind of solve the biggest pain, which is in my view, the flexibility to understand how can I be flexible to the requirements all of us basically have. And the one thing also which we look at is we are, at Billa, we're employing 19,000 people in Austria, and as REWE, we are one of the biggest employment giver. And for us, our employees are basically customers. So when we look at that, we have digital natives there, and we have people just before retirement. And so yes, Amazon Go is exactly the model where you can pull out a lot of concepts and then work on that. So yes, we are working as well on understanding which bits of that, and then we trial them. So we develop them and then put it out there. So we have certain retail shops, certain customer bases, and they just give us feedback, and then we implement that and see how we can develop really something that we can roll out on our more than 1,000 stores Billa, and REWE has almost 2,000 stores in Austria.
She is doing all that. Wow. The very last question with 10 likes. Andreas or Peter, up to you. I suppose there is a hard competition between the local point of sale and digital business going on. What is your strategy in regards of the digital shift? It's a pity that the person didn't tell the name, because I don't fully understand the question. Do you?
But we can do it.
You can share, yeah.
Cooperation, let me say. I touched this situation at the beginning. This is exactly what we are seeing now and where we are working on. And I got a message 1 week ago. It was offline is the new luxury. And under this topic, we had a view on that, how we can really combine this offline shopping with digital environment. From my point of view, this is now really a very cool vision, because food retail is something which is today mainly offline, but I think very strong influence by digital and online environment. So now we are thinking about how we can connect these both, let me say, worlds, and bring it with, let me say, one service to the customer. I think this is the next challenge, and I totally agree on the builder strategy that having an e-commerce platform is really only the foundation for all which will come up now, and influencing also the offline shopping, where we also see that the people are changing their, let me say, requirements, how to go shopping, also how to go shopping for food. So they want to see the food which is really, let me say, interesting for them. Let me say, I'm interested in fish. I want to see the fish. I want to see the product. Maybe I want to discuss with the shop assistant about that. But I'm really not interested buying, let me say, beer or wine in front of me. So it could really change also the way how we are doing shopping in store by using technology and digital environments.
I believe that we have to learn very fast that seeing POS and digital as competitors will bring us nowhere. If we don't learn to interact and couple up and team up these different channels, then we'll lose against any global platform there is. And for example, the POS, from my point of view, is a micro hub, a micro logistics center that is so far more close to our customer than we can ever be. So if we manage to bridge a fulfillment process that covers the very last mile to the customer by integrating a stationary POS into our e-commerce system and partnering on a B2B platform with POS and retail partners, that could give the customer such a more pleasant experience in shopping and open possibilities and cross and upselling for us. So seeing that at competition will lead us nowhere. We have to join forces here and build up B2B networks and find the infrastructure for that. And I think that's one of the biggest change of minds we have here in Europe.
Join forces, change of mind, a very philosophical end of this panel discussion. I just have a very last question. It's the same question for all of our 4 panelists. I wanted to ask them if they only had 3 words to describe the future of retail. What 3 words do I get from you, Paddy? 3 words, no sentences.
3 words.
You're running out of time.
Personalized, seamless, and local.
Love it.
It's very easy for me.
IT.
No, it's the title of our strategy. It's digital value creation. 3 words.
I would say learn fast together.
He's the philosopher, certainly. Julia.
The future of retail, I would say it's intuitive, it's curated, and it's seamless.
Thank you very much. I think what they gave us as their last 3 words is like a look out to a very bright retail future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.